Into, and yeah, I don't think I would have heard that. I don't think I was expecting that type of sentence to come out, that if Renegades win this map, they're in the finals of the First Strike NSG qualifier. That's pretty insane. And it starts off with them not letting go of the pedal. They are rushing straight into the B site on the attack for the Renegades as they drop 2 right away. mummAy down to 22 HP, and they are still moving inside with a spike getting planted, and they have all 5 members just colliding inside for deep crossfire at the B.
No, I would love to watch this round back at 25% speed to see what is going so right for Renegades. The power overwhelming blitz into B pays off a flawless round. And oh my goodness, we saw it several times on Ascent. You know, the satchel plus dash combo with following, with a paranoia. You get a lot of different moving pieces, you know, when you're really just holding W into B in terms of your utility coming out, but it's so overwhelming for Envy. You know, you have a Cypher over there, I guess. Maybe a trip is going to get someone somewhere. But overall, that is so tough to stop. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, when the kills come that quick, your rotators, the people who are, you know, maybe the closest that can give you aid and at least support you in any way, they don't even have time to turn around. The kills have already come through. Envy's lost. And that is just insane to me that Renegades, you know, is able to just so decisively win those kinds of rounds. So we'll see whether or not Envy finds an answer as the, you know, this is an anti-eco on behalf of Renegades. Winsum pushing into heaven. Finds the first stun of mummAy. And Envy, who's been so scary all day today, Van Silly. You know, the Sheriff buys, the Force buys, and you see the Stinger over here with food might come into play in just a moment. Take it back. But, you know, this is good to see from Renegades if you're a Renegades fan. Seeing them, you know, dealing with the constant threat of Sheriff, Stingers, whatever it is coming out from Envy that's been so disgustingly dangerous, as we can see right there. crashies very nearly flanking a full 3 players and collecting the spike. Luckily, CP2 minding the flank seals that gap. And there's one player over here at A main that is Caboose, but he gets found out by randyySavage, and that may be disaster avoided for Renegades altogether, and there it is. 2-0. Envy falling short at the beginning of this game once again.
Yeah, and I think now when you're, you know, with the amount of matches that we've been casting so far this week, Lex, and also towards the open qualifier with Nursery Gamers, it's safe to say that pistol round, whoever wins it, it's very rare that you're going to have players just keeping their ghosts like we kind of saw in the past and then try to upgrade to phantoms in the third. Because so far, whoever loses pistols will always force up on specters and frenzies and lower buys to try to bring the economy back. But these are situations where, you know, there's only 1 player or 2 players alive, and at these cases, now we see 4 or 5 players alive, or 3 to 5 players alive. The force buy still comes through. So I think the norm now, it's in the meta. Currently looking at, what, November 7th we are today in 2020, is just going to be, let's always force up on that second round. Envy, though, a high-low stack. That was beautiful to watch. 2 frenzies as mummAy gets the kill. It gets traded back, though. It's a 4 versus 4, but RNG are still trying to move forward inside this team's fight. You do have FNS trying to battle back out in the open now as Retro gets traded by Food, and on this 3 versus 3, Food is still pushing forward. Oh no, he's going to teleport in the wrong place. Indeed, he's going to get popped by randyySavage. But the eco is still looking great for Envy so far. A CB2 is going to try to go for a fault line to give map control into B for his teammate. Finally, the action has slowed down just for a bit, but still plenty of time on the clock here for them to get the spike down. They were just waiting to get spike control while randyySavage is the one that's trying to watch the angle. But crashies runs through after the flashpoint and brings around for himself and for Envy. Well done.
It's crazy to me that they just played that round with less utility, no armor, and only a couple sheriffs and ghosts, and they somehow played that collectively better than the round prior. I mean, a lot of individual plays that fell short, whatever. But, you know, that is the threat of Envy that they've shown time and again, is that those eco rounds are the X factor of whether or not they can take the momentum out of your sails, take the wind out of your sails and steal your momentum. That's what I meant to say, but okay, whatever. You know what? At this point, if you're Envy, you take anything you can get. You know, despite the fact that Renegades is clearly going to be in a full buy here, this is still looking great for them. But you got to hunt the good stuff. A little bit of B-main aggression coming out from Envy. They'll know no presence over there early, but it doesn't matter. 5-man execute due any moment now from Renegades. Cashing in his retro, creating a little bit of space. Food should get found out there at that heaven location. He is. And supported by crashies in the back, he only finds one. So this is actually turning out all Renegades on the A-bomb site. Envy will have to retake slowly from the other side of the map. But there is CP2 minding the flank over there at A main. So despite the fact that FNS is, you know, wrapping around there and eventually going to walk down that ramp, I do wonder whether or not CP2 is going to catch him as we see this elbow action occurring right here from randyySavage. Delaying as much as he can with those nano swarms as mummAy peers into the bomb site from above. Spike ticks away now. First pick going on to randyySavage from mummAy. FNS blinded on the site. Berghy finds one. And it's just CP2 at long range with the Spectre. Can't get it done. I believe it was a Phantom actually, but nice retake from Envy. That's 2 rounds in a row for them. And certainly, I think if you're an Envy fan, you know, we were worried more about Split, I think, than Ascent, right? Coming into this matchup as far as whether or not Renegades was going to be a competitive team that would maybe steal a map or 2 away from Envy. Suddenly, this is looking like, okay, Envy playing Renegades on what could be considered their best map and managing so far 2-2. And you do have the Rolling Thunder and Blade Storm, respectively, on mummAy and crashies. So with the operator in hand, forcing RNG onto an eco, things are looking good for Envy right now.
Yeah. 2 small things I like to see, though. The first one being a cloud burst thrown by Retro inside A side. Should he want to dash into A once again? That's some of the players that I see like Quinn does, and it allows him to actually get into a little bit of A control before he gets fired from somebody towards a window. And fully blinded, mummAy gets 2 kills, a collateral with the operator, looking to swing for a third, but his teammates just around the corner to help him up on the top there. Fault line and get him out of position, but a nice dark cover to just hold the grounds and makes things slower for Renegades to get control of the B side. So that's fully denied for the rest of Renegades are falling back towards this mid. So good way to start things off. So we talked about it, on the last round. I would have liked the cloud burst for Retro to get into the site. And the second one is that mistake that came in from the Killjoy at the elbow side. I don't think he should have peeked towards Hammond side. He already had map control. They already had pulse plant positions. And he was in a great spot to just focus on battling the person coming out of screens. And him dying at the elbow just made it harder for the last 2 players inside the site.
Look at this, FNS playing
Beautiful
with his
art.
food. That's right. About to put him on MTV. 5 on 3 Renegades milling about. B heaven. Boost sure to make contact. There it is. Finds 1. And takes some damage, but finds 2. FNS cleans up the third. And nice clean anti-eco from Envy. No losses. Now, for Renegades here, Split, you know, Vansili, we've seen over the past, I'd say like 2 months maybe, further and further, Split has gone towards maybe being considered an even map, and certainly at higher levels of competition, it even is favored win percentage on attack side. But I wonder whether or not, you know, for Renegades, what side they're going to be more comfortable on against a team like Envy, where, you know, there's no Killjoy out here for Envy. They're just playing the normal Cypher, kind of a standard setup anyway. Kaboose with a fast satchel play over here at A, and he's going to find the kill on a randyySavage, who was wise to it, who was patiently waiting and conceding his position so that he didn't have to deal with the... Oh my goodness, that mummAy angle on the Retro as well. The relentless aggression from Envy early on is exactly what we were giving them praise for in prior matchups, Vansili, but I can't even keep up with the action there, back and forth. Kaboose making the decision to react over there at A main.
mummAy's everywhere.
Questionable, but mummAy is already taking things into his own hands.
Yeah. An op kill towards B main, switches over to Heaven, gets a kill onto Male. And at the same time, we had the showstopper cut out from Caboose towards spawn side and still manages to get the kill, on to the attacker in their spawn. So that was huge. randyySavage to fall early. And Envy, you were saying how you wanted to know who's more comfortable in a map like on the side for Renegades, if what they have under their sleeves for the attacker side, but the same thing goes to Envy, man. Like Envy is as strong and dominant on a map like Split too. So looking at them head to head, I think it's still a question mark because I haven't had a chance to see these two together, let alone see how Renegades have played Split since they came back from their tournament at the Renegades Invitational. But with this said, they're just saving their weapons here. I think you were going to say something here, Lex, so I'll let you chime in to continue on my point.
Right. I was just going to say, you know, Envy has this commonality, I think, across all 3 maps that we've seen them play so far. I say 4 actually. Every single one of their maps, they rely on, you know, I'd say you could call it aggression.
Yeah,
but
no, it's true.
That it's not always just like fast and loose pushing. It's very calculated on which side of the map they're going to put pressure on and where they're going to lean it back and flex.
And not always a rush.
mummAy, yeah, and mummAy has been I think, you know, over the past several weeks and months with this Envy roster, we've kept a close eye on them. He's becoming one of the better operators in North America, and certainly one of the more successful ones from round to round with this weapon.
Yeah.
You know, and that constant threat, the constant pressure on all the sides of the map from Envy is usually why their defense is dominant. So the reason I kind of prefaced it like that was, can Renegades deal with it the same way that they just dealt with it on Ascent? And will they be comfortable in this half doing it? I don't know. I'm excited to see it. A little bit of B pressure coming out early. Mailroom already being claimed by Renegades. So mid is yielded. And if you check the mini map right now,
they're about to push out.
There's a severe chance that this is going to be a B split at any moment from Renegades. But the rotations are already so wild on the side of Envy that, you know, there's a lot of second guessing going on both sides right now as we see mirror rotations back towards the A bomb site from both teams. And a little bit of a noise betrayal, and the trip is broken, so it doesn't matter now. The rolling thunder from, I believe that was the side of Envy.
Yep.
Catches 1, maybe 2 players from Renegades, but 1 kill does get traded out, so 4v4 going back towards B. Things are still looking good for Renegades in this round, but, you know, inside of B main lays a lurking threat from Caboose.
That is so good.
But I'm not quite sure. crashies is able to grab one at mid before being traded out by CP2, and around that Omen smoke is an FNS that is not being accounted for. Caboose stepping out of B main, and there it is. FNS with the backstab. They didn't see him enter it, and it was a perfect timing play. He ekes by it just ever so slightly beyond the vision of whoever that was from Renegades, and he's able to close out those last 2 kills. Otherwise, that could have been a very close round, if not a Renegades win. You know, if you kill Caboose over there at B main, you plant the spike, suddenly this is a 2-on-1 retake, and it looks a little bit more dire. However, Envy looking strong, and that is something that, you know, a lot of rounds, I think, on Renegades' attack side, you know, came down to the wire, like 2v2 scenarios, and, you know, they managed to win a couple, and it put them across the finish line. But here, that was a scenario, a very winnable round for Renegades that doesn't come up in their direction. So, you know, those rounds, count them up, okay? By halftime, how many of those tight rounds are going the way of Envy? Because that, I think, if we're ending in 13-11 score lines and, you know, it's going to be this close of a contest, I think Envy is desperate to make sure that they're getting the ones that they should be here on the easy side, quote-unquote, of split. Enemy Killjoy getting popped, so Renegades may be looking for an A play here, Van Silly.
This is where it's going to get hard, though. They have a double op set up for Envy, and it's going to be a hard side to retake when you only have 2 ops after a Killjoy ult. Now they're moving through. Well, check that out. We're still going to get a kill from Food. Berghy trades back with 2 of his own, but then that's it. They're holding their grounds, and there's only 1 more to go. That's CP2 with a Rolling Thunder, and as he peeks out, that's Food with a 3rd. And when we're looking back on that previous round, I was trying to figure out how, you know, you were talking about Envy, how they press forward. It's not, and I was saying it's not necessarily rushes. I just loved how Envy adapted to how Renegades was taking mid control. It wasn't this round here, but the previous round before, if you guys remember that. Because as they take mid control, what Envy tried to do was push slowly 2 players outside a garage and set a crossfire setup in that area. Therefore, they also even had a 4 stack towards B, so they were expecting eventually a B hit. But as they try to go through the ropes, well, once you break that trapwire, that's enough information given away so that mummAy, who's posted up at the A ramp as the other operator, could turn around and get those kills towards rope, and it definitely helps when you have a Rolling Thunder available on the rotation as well for Envy. So they're adapting this quite well, and when I'm saying slow pressure, the slow pressure really comes in factor if Renegades decides to go back towards B and they get dropped. And now they run into B, they're all getting dropped like flies. And that's 4 immediate kills, but it is indeed an eco coming in for Renegades. So that's why, sorry guys, I long-winded the explanation, but it's just because they're looking for a push inside B. You're hoping something works out, but it does not.
It was a wash either way.
Yep.
But I'm knowing Winsum, the headless chicken, just cruising on by a fully blind FNS, and you gotta wonder, oh man, how frustrating is that you just kind of let a free kill slip.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, you know, it's whatever at this point. You don't really care about what happened in the round prior. You get a gun round here for Renegades, and You know, I was praising their fast play with 5 players towards a certain location on a map or whatever to claim the map control and deny Envy to get that slow pressure that you're talking about, really to pay off, right? The operators being a constant threat. Okay, here's Kaboose just walking down. And mummAy has the op covering his peak. And he does get out of there alive. That's retro, but mummAy is actually going to get a clothesline as I say that. Kaboose managing, despite the damage that he took, to find one before falling. So a 3-on-3 scenario for Renegades. Still no possession of bomb, or sorry, excuse me, of spike. Wow, no possession of spike plant. That is not even a sentence. FNS finding one over at B main. What I meant to say was there's no spike plant yet. That said, you know, opting to just kind of meander around the map, trying to figure out where there's holes in the Envy defense. Unfortunately, you got to deal with things like trap wires. You've got food over here holding an off angle at heaven. There's not anything really clearly open to Renegades in this round, so they're going to need to win a gunfight, need to somehow push back this pressure somewhere. And CP2 looking to make a little bit of noise over here at A. And just like that, breaking that trip means Berghy gets a free pass into heaven, but once again, a player from Renegades just glancing in the wrong direction at the wrong time. And what would have been an advantageous position to him suddenly is one to food. So, you know, as dire as it was for a moment for Envy, they cleaned that round up nicely. No real opportunity for CP2 to even attempt to clutch successfully. But 8-2 now, this is looking all Envy.
This is unfortunate for Renegades because they've had a Rolling Thunder for a past couple of rounds already. I could think about at least 2 rounds where you only have 2 rounds left in this half where the Rolling Thunder hasn't been used yet, or even used early for some map control so they could try to explode into a site. They've had multiple opportunities with full rifles to try to do it, but maybe it's going to be this round because it's going to be a forced buy and they're going to have Blade Storm to come out, and then they're going to probably look towards an early B hit onto the heaven side so they can take control of that area. But if they don't use it right now, they're gonna save it for the last round, where I think it could have been very fruitful for them to use it earlier. Maybe on the positive side, they could even get a round on top of that, and then eventually probably have another Rolling Thunder by the end of the round if we could continue to get some kills as that breach moving forward, and even some orb control. So CP2, as we're talking about right now, he is going to be the first one at the point, and it seems as though he's not set up for his teammates to use that Rolling Thunder. They're really just going to go for the rifles instead and try to get the Blade Storms for the entries.
Blinding. Flash catching food. Results in an unscope and a yielding of that angle, but crashies rock solid on the site, finds one in a dance with another. Does he find the kill? No, he does not. CP2 bails out retro, desperate for some support in the back of the bomb site, but FNS is crept out. They know he's there. He gets absolutely murdered. Food, though, over at screens. Are you sure that Renegade's not getting anything for free? Kaboose in that dark cupboard, finding an encroaching retro. 2-on-3, Renegades yet to put the spike down. 20 seconds remaining on the clock. They are pressed to do so now, and in comes the retake from Envy. 3 players walking out of that smoke towards screens. Berghy finds one, Kaboose trades it instantly, and Winsum is in a really tight spot right here, but this might be good for him. Finding one into mummAy, and Kaboose gets challenged. He falls. Both headshots, and that is a breath of life that Renegades most desperately needs going into the closing moments of this half. And 1 round remains. You know, there's no hope really for any kind of, you know, grand solution to breaking the economy of Envy or forcing ultimates out in the previous round, unfortunately, in that regard. But, you know, for Renegades, you still have that Rolling Thunder, which I think it's like 5 rounds now in a row that he's had it. I wonder whether or not this is going to work into a game plan for Renegades, you know, utilize that in any kind of way. But if they're going to change anything up with Renegades, that's the first round that they've had in, you know, what seems like ages, and it is. And now they're spreading the map for the first time, and Retro has a nice cheeky play with an aftershock at the top of the ramp, but it doesn't matter. The fault line doesn't come through in time. I'm sorry, that the aftershock is definitely a fault line, but Winsum does find another frag on the other side of the map, at least. That was almost a really cool play, Van Silly, but, you know, as I stumbled over my words, that was a stun basically at the top of the ramp. And the Jett dash to find an early kill almost comes through. It's just nice shot again from mummAy to deny it. And this showstopper into B is just looking so awkward. Getting a trip, chasing a player through B main. That's FNS. He falls. There's only 3 players remaining, and that's crashies on the bomb site still. I was wondering who that was. That's him. That's a player from Envy, standing next to 2 different players from Renegades, and that ultimate finally coming through, but Winsum dancing around to the back of the bomb site, finds himself in a one-on-one. That nade could land. It does not, but forcing an awkward movement from Food around that pillar. Winsum falls, 9-3 half. Wow, what a round. That was so awkward. You know, the showstopper being popped by Winsum, then he gets caught on the trip. It's so, you know, that really looked like a good round from Renegades. Not only the plan to trap that player up at top of a ramp, you know, mummAy has actually shut down plays like that time and again, you know, against the side of, and I think that may have been Food at the top of the ramp in that instance, but Retro has been so close to having a huge impact in these rounds, and he gets denied once again. And I gotta tell you, Envy looking so good in this half against Renegades that looked, you know, I would say defensively, you know, not necessarily impenetrable on Ascent by any means, but you look to this half maybe as a Renegades comeback story, Van Silly, and starts here with a pistol, but hats off to Envy for a tremendous half.
Yeah. And I even saw that the Rolling Thunder was thrown by CP2 in the end. Didn't really come into effect. I was wondering if he was even throwing it towards Garage side, because they know somebody was playing towards Garage from the last time that they tried to take control from Heaven side. But in the end, it's still going to be the round for for Envy, as they take the lead by 6, 9-3 into the half. Damage is going to be CP2, as we were talking about him before. He's down a half HP as they go all full armor, and Classics, big flashpoint, but Winsum did not realize there were 3 players there, and we are looking for an explosion from Envy inside this A side. Big flash, fully blinded to CP2, and traded out by FNS2. So that's an open site, 5-on-3, full health on the full roster of Envy. It's going to be an easy plant. 3 players playing back inside the site too. Food watching that flank, and it's not going to be an easy retake right now, as 3 of them just come swarming through towards the elbow. They trade for the first, but it's still going to be Envy that takes the upper hand, and it's going to be 10-3 now. And, you know, we are praising on Renegades on how they played their split. Like I said, they're playing against Envy, who do have a very, very strong showing on this map too.
Yeah, and I wonder if a little bit of what we're seeing right here, especially, I mean, the scoreline does somewhat tell the story of Renegades' I won't call them failures necessarily, but it seems as though we've seen a fair amount of miscues, okay, amongst teammates on the side of Renegades, and it's a game of inches sometimes, where the slightest misstep, the slightest mistake gets amplified by 1,000, and it costs you rounds. Well, you know, a couple rounds in a row right here where, you know, maybe you're missing your flashbang, maybe you're stumbling over a missed timing, giving away kills that you shouldn't. Unfortunate that we're seeing that now from Renegades, but this is also forced errors from Envy, who are just putting pressure on consistently. But Retro finding the first on a caboose. Takes quite a bit of damage, but nice little mid-pop flash to get that done. And Retro might get another bit of damage out, okay. Another dink onto FNS, but he survived. And Renegades, you know, any kills are great, but this is split a little bit tight quarters, and when it comes to map comparisons, I'd say that this is very, you know, not necessarily a scary situation always, but anti-ecos could be so difficult sometimes. FNS finding Winsum there, that's a good start. crashies keying in on this very, very audible rotate. Renegades not seeming to give a damn about the fact that everybody just heard them sprinting through spawn. Envy's going to walk into an empty bomb site, but CP2 wise to it. May be a thorn in their side.
30 seconds left.
They're running back through spawn side too, so they're about to get flanked.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, there you go. mummAy gets 2 kills. CP2 just trying to win that 1 versus 1 at the garage. That doesn't work. And you know what? When I talked about the situations of the new meta, of the pistol round and the second round you force buy, well, that's one of those situations where you don't, because in the pistol you only got 1 kill. You invested full armor for everyone and probably utility, so everybody bought all the way down to 100 and 0 as well. So only getting 1 kill, losing the round, it's 1900. That only allows you to get a stinger and small shield and a couple of abilities, where they definitely had something more from Renegades, from 2 flashpoints on that round and going full classics to at least get 1 kill out of that. So Envy now goes for an goes for the bonus round. And the fault line came through early, but early as well is going to be Winsum down to low HP. as they have a buy of their own, and they already have a couple of players damaged, and that Cyber Cage allows them to take more control up towards this heaven side for Envy.
I like this dark cover that they place here to at least deny some line of sight, deny flashbangs, anything else that might be over there at A Heaven gets thwarted by it, gives you a little bit of room to walk up past that doorway. And Renegades, who we expected just based on prior performances to be a very strong split team. You know what? I don't want to count them out just yet, despite the fact that I already have like twice. I've already said like, oh, this match might be over like two different times now, but whatever.
Come on, Lex.
Like, I've been correcting myself a bunch of times today. So I'm like, what am I saying? Like, obviously this game isn't over, but 11-3. I am surprised based on how much we hyped this up at the scoreline now. But Kaboose just walked through A Heaven. He's not going to casually move the screens. They know, but just slam dunks one on Winsum's head. Suddenly this is a 5-on-4. CP2 does get 2, and that's huge. Those kills are massive in this last round, you know, potentially before Envy gets onto map point. So desperate to make sure that, you know, with those 2 kills, suddenly there's a little bit of Renegade's life in this round. But this 2v3 is so important for the chances of a comeback. And it's already looking dangerous. Berghy does find 1, so it's 1-on-2 for Retro. It is doable, but FNS finding a frag through the smoke. That is it. 12-3. Envy on map point. Renegades.
Match
9 rounds to bring this back in their favor.
And the issue at that point is that you gave so much map control for Envy on top of the A Heaven. Even on top of that, you were allowing, what was it, mummAy to even make it towards the screen. So as they storm into the site, they don't need that many players anymore, as they know the defense is turtled up towards a very passive crossfire setup behind the map. And then as you take over that control, anybody else that's rotating from Renegades from the mid side or also from spawn is already going to be held by mummAy. So you're not giving any chance for your teammates to work together. As we talked about Renegades before, how they look so good as a unit on defensive side of Ascent, it's not really what we're seeing here so far. But thankfully, as I say that, we have 2 opening kills on this force buy from Renegades, of course, because they're fighting for the map life. And they're able to open up with 2, but it gets immediately traded off by FNS, and even a hat comes out. So that's going to give a lot of information here. So how does Envy retaliate onto that? How do they work with this? Knowing that players are now inside that site, and they're also split across the map, and FNS is low on HP. Looks like they're going to count on crashies to try to get something done, but crashies is trying to come through ropes. There's an alarm bot. They're going to say probably let's work back towards this mid side to B. So they're walking back into a crossfire setup for Renegades at Heaven side and Hell. So this could be really good. It's going to be different 1-versus-1 situations here where you hope that the first one, point of contact at B Heaven, gets this first kill, but he does not. Berghy to fall, a flash towards the Hell side, fully blinded, but he's able to dash away. But Retro still wins that fight. So it's all up to 1 more. FNS back towards the Heaven side. 24 seconds left on the clock. That kill comes through onto Retro, but you already have one opponent at the defense spawn. And as he puts the camera out, CP2 cheeses into the camera and then dispatches FNS with a headshot. And Renegades puts 4 on the board, but with the force buy that they got into that last round here, Lex, it's still going to be a small shield buy.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, from here on out, obviously every round is a must-win. You know, you don't really have any opportunity to build a bank if you're losing 3 members every round, but it doesn't, you know, at least for me, I can't imagine that they're even worried about, like, you know, their own economy, given that they're down 8 rounds right now. You got to win. You got to focus on this next event, this next round, this next circumstance. And Retro already making the next play right there. Doesn't find anything in the double up draft, but you know, you were talking a bit about you know, how we highlighted the Renegades' successful defense on Ascent and how good they looked playing together and synergizing their agent abilities. And you couldn't be more right, Vansily. This is, you know, a breakdown of utter proportions so far in this half, but that one, that very last round, the first defensive round for Renegades, you know what, like, it's step 1 at the very least, but, you know, I was going to preface this by saying, if you're going to make a comeback, defensively, you got to be good, but Envy just seems to be picking them apart. Retro does get one with the Blade Storm, finds a second before falling to that paint shell grenade coming out from Kaboose, but, you know, you spelled it out for us already, Vansily, where this defensive side of Renegades, you know, that was what was so scary to watch. you know, in map 1, we're not really seeing that here. And of course, there's not going to be many more opportunities
One
to
enemy remaining.
Oh, the timing on
see
that one.
that if they don't win this round. And of course,
30
you know,
seconds
just having
left.
CP2 in a 1v3 over from the A bomb site. Boo's already there waiting for them.
Attackers win.
An unfortunate outcome if you're a Renegades fan, but we moved to map 3.